Right after a meal, your body becomes very quiet on the outside. The fork is down, the plate is empty, the room feels slower. Maybe your stomach is warm, maybe your eyelids feel just a little heavier, and the couch starts looking unusually convincing. It seems like nothing important is happening, but inside you, an entire sequence has already begun. Your stomach is breaking food down. Your intestine is preparing nutrients for delivery. Glucose is beginning to enter your bloodstream. Hormones are shifting into position. Muscles are waiting for instructions. And in the next few minutes, one small decision can completely change how your body handles that meal. You can stay seated, or you can walk. And what happens next is fascinating. Because this is not really about exercise in the way most people think. It is not about turning a meal into a workout. It is not about earning your food. It is about giving your body a different set of signals during one of the most biologically active moments of the day. Most people never hear this part. The same lunch, the same body, the same 30 minutes can lead to two very different internal experiences. One is more passive, heavier, slower. The other is more coordinated, more stable, more supported. And the difference begins almost immediately. Have you ever noticed that after some meals, you feel sleepy, foggy, or weighed down? But after a short walk, even a slow one, you somehow feel lighter and clearer? If you enjoy understanding the quiet science happening inside your body, consider subscribing. And if you've ever felt this shift yourself, tap the like button so more people can discover it too. Under the surface, your body handles every meal like a careful delivery network. Food goes in, digestion begins, and nutrients start getting sorted and sent where they are needed. Carbohydrates become glucose. Proteins become amino acids. Fats are packaged for transport. Nothing is random. Your body is organized, adaptive, and constantly protecting balance. Glucose is especially important here because it is one of the body's fastest and most useful fuels, but glucose in the blood has to be managed well. Too much arriving too quickly creates a kind of metabolic crowding. So your body sends out insulin, a messenger that helps move glucose from the bloodstream into cells. Insulin is not the villain people sometimes make it sound like. Insulin is a guide, a traffic coordinator, a delivery manager. It helps direct incoming fuel where it can be used or stored safely. The question is not whether insulin is good or bad. The real question is, what kind of environment is your body working with right after you eat? If you sit down right away, your muscles remain relatively quiet. They are not demanding much energy. So as glucose enters the blood, the body relies more heavily on insulin to manage the rise. The system still works, because your body is helping you. But the glucose peak may be sharper. Insulin may need to rise more, and more of that incoming fuel may be directed towards storage because immediate use is low. This is one reason many people feel a post-meal slump. It is not that the body is failing. It is that the body is doing its job in a still environment. Digestion is active. Blood sugar is rising. Hormones are adjusting. The nervous system is leaning toward rest. The body is storing what it cannot use right away. That sleepy heaviness is often the feeling of a system working hard in the background. Now watch what changes when you walk. The moment you stand and begin moving, especially within the first 20 to 30 minutes after eating, your muscles start participating in the story. Your calves tighten and release. Your thighs begin cycling through contraction and relaxation. Blood flow shifts. The large muscles of the legs become active energy users. And this matters because active muscles can take in glucose much more readily. In fact, muscle contraction itself helps pull glucose out of the blood and into the muscle, partly through pathways that do not depend only on insulin. That means walking opens an additional route for blood sugar management. Your body is no longer relying on one door. It quietly unlocks another. Think of it like a busy building after a shipment arrives. Sitting keeps most of the side entrances closed, so everything has to move through the main front door. Walking opens several side doors at once. The same delivery still arrives, but traffic flows more smoothly. You might not feel that process directly, but your body notices it instantly. Within just a few minutes of walking, glucose handling begins to improve. Instead of building too sharply in the bloodstream, some of that fuel is already being pulled into working muscle. The blood sugar rise can become smaller. The insulin response can become gentler. The whole system becomes less crowded. This is why a short walk after eating can feel strangely powerful, even though it looks so ordinary from the outside. No gym, no sweating required, no intense effort. Just movement at the exact moment your body can use it most. And then there is circulation. Walking acts like a soft pump for the lower body. Every step helps move blood and fluid through the legs. This supports delivery, cleanup, and metabolic communication all at once. It is one of the reasons walking often leaves people feeling less stuck after a meal. The body is not simply digesting, it is distributing. If you remain seated, the opposite message is sent. The body still manages beautifully, but with less muscular help. That can mean a bigger glucose wave, a stronger insulin push, and eventually a deeper crash when energy begins shifting out of the blood and into storage. For some people, that feels like sleepiness. For others, it feels like fogginess, irritability, or the strange desire for something sweet even after they just ate. What's so interesting is that many people assume this feeling is just normal and unavoidable. But often, it is changeable. Not by forcing your body, not by punishing it, just by cooperating with it. Because your body is not asking for a workout after you eat, it is simply very responsive to movement during that window. A 10-minute walk, a 15-minute stroll, even a slow conversational pace can begin changing the chemistry of the next half hour. And that next half hour is where things get interesting. At first, nothing about a post-meal walk looks dramatic. You are not sprinting. Your heart is not pounding. You may not even be breathing much harder than normal. From the outside, it looks almost too simple to matter. But inside your body, minute by minute, the entire metabolic atmosphere begins to change. Let's slow it down and walk through those minutes together. Minutes 0 to 5 begin right after the meal, or soon after you stand up. Digestion is already underway. Food has moved into the stomach and small intestine, where carbohydrates are being broken down into smaller sugars. These sugars start passing into the bloodstream. If you sit, that fuel enters a fairly quiet system. But if you walk, your muscles wake up immediately. The leg muscles become active tissue, and active tissue is hungry tissue. Each step sends a signal through muscle fibers that says, in effect, we can use some of this now. Glucose transporters in muscle cells begin moving toward the cell surface, helping glucose leave the blood and enter muscle more efficiently. Some of this happens with insulin's help, and some of it happens because movement itself creates demand. This is rarely explained, but it is one of the biggest reasons walking after eating matters. Movement gives incoming fuel a destination. Now move into minutes 5 to 10. This is when the difference between sitting and walking becomes easier to imagine. If you stay still after a meal, blood sugar tends to keep rising toward its peak. The body responds with more insulin to guide that glucose into cells and storage. Again, this is protective. The body is trying to keep the blood environment stable. But if you are walking, that rise is often blunted. The peak that might have climbed higher is now softened because the muscles are already pulling some of that glucose out of circulation. Insulin still works, of course, but it may not need to surge as strongly. The result is a smoother curve instead of a sharper spike. You may not feel that curve with perfect awareness, but many people feel its effects. Less heaviness, less sudden sleepiness, less of that strange mental dimming that can appear after a large meal. Within minutes, the body begins choosing a calmer path. Now, let's move into minutes 10 to 20. This is the middle phase, and it is where walking starts helping more than just blood sugar. Your digestive system and muscular system begin cooperating in a more fluid way. Gentle walking can support stomach emptying and help the meal move through the digestive process more comfortably for many people. Not everyone feels this the same way. And a very intense workout right after eating is a different story. But light walking often feels better because it encourages rhythm rather than stagnation. Imagine a kitchen after a big dinner. If nobody clears space, carries dishes, or organizes the counters, everything feels crowded. But if one person quietly starts moving things where they belong, the same kitchen becomes manageable very quickly. That is what walking does after a meal. It does not erase the meal. It helps organize the aftermath. During this same window, the body also starts deciding what to do with excess fuel. If glucose is arriving faster than it is being used, storage signals become stronger. If muscles are actively working, more of that fuel can be directed into useful immediate activity and replenishment rather than simply being packed away. Over time, that repeated difference matters. Not once, not twice, but across weeks, months, and years. Now we enter minutes 20 to 30. This is often the moment when the post-meal crash would have started building if you had remained seated. Blood sugar may have risen, and insulin may now be moving it more aggressively into tissues. Some people feel that as an energy drop, a soft mental blur, or a craving to lie down, it is the feeling of energy being rerouted after a large arrival. But if you are still walking, even gently, your muscles are continuing to use fuel in real time. Inside those muscle cells, mitochondria are processing that fuel for movement. This is not only about calories. It is about how cleanly and steadily the body can handle incoming energy. The inflammatory response to the meal may also be lower when post-meal movement becomes a habit. Meals naturally create a small metabolic challenge, especially larger or more refined meals. Walking does not make the body panic less because the body was never panicking. It simply helps the body distribute that challenge more gracefully, and that grace has consequences. Over time, repeated post-meal walks are associated with better insulin sensitivity, better blood glucose control, and often less buildup of the kind of fat stored deep around the organs, sometimes called visceral fat. That fat is metabolically active, and the body tends to accumulate more of it when incoming energy regularly exceeds immediate use. Walking after meals is one quiet way of changing that balance. If you've ever felt just a little different after walking, this may be why. Not because your body suddenly transformed in one evening, but because, for those 20 or 30 minutes, your internal traffic was smoother, your muscles were more involved, and your fuel had somewhere useful to go. For many viewers, this is the most surprising part. The body responds to very small efforts when timing is right. Not heroic effort. Not perfect discipline. Just a few steps during a biologically important window. And science has gradually become more interested in that window. For years, many people thought only formal exercise mattered. Long workouts, higher intensity, structured plans. But researchers started noticing something humbler and, in a way, more exciting. Short bouts of movement after meals could meaningfully affect blood sugar responses, even when the walking was light. That changed the picture. Because now, the question was no longer, how much exercise did you do today? It became, what did your body experience after you ate? Over time, this small habit begins to compound in ways that are easy to miss at first. A single walk after one meal may leave you feeling lighter. A week of post-meal walks may make afternoons feel steadier. A month of them may start changing how your body expects to handle food. And over many months, those repeated signals can gently improve metabolic flexibility, the body's ability to move between storing and using fuel without so much strain. That phrase sounds technical, but the idea is simple. A flexible body can respond smoothly. When food arrives, it manages it well. When movement begins, it uses fuel well. When energy is needed later, it can access stored fuel more smoothly too. Walking after meals helps teach that rhythm. What most people don't realize is that your body is always learning from patterns. It listens to repeated events. If meals are consistently followed by long sitting, the body adapts to that pattern. If meals are often followed by light movement, the body adapts to that too. Neither adaptation is punishment. Both are forms of intelligent learning. And this is why a small habit can have such large, long-term meaning. Picture your metabolism, like a city's traffic system. If every day, 3 times a day, delivery trucks all arrive at the same intersections and nobody helps direct traffic, congestion builds. Not instantly, not dramatically, but gradually. The lights get overwhelmed, cars idle, side roads back up. The whole city still functions, but less smoothly. Now, imagine that after each major delivery, someone quietly steps in and opens lanes, directs flow, and keeps things moving. That is what walking after a meal can feel like for your internal physiology. It is not flashy. It is efficient. And the body loves efficiency. This is also why the pace does not need to be intense. A slow conversational walk is often enough. You do not need to power march. You do not need to sweat through your shirt. You are not trying to shock your system. You are simply giving your muscles a chance to participate in the handling of incoming fuel. The practical protocol is surprisingly gentle. Ideally, walk within about 20 to 30 minutes of finishing the meal. Earlier is often fine, especially if the walk is easy and comfortable. For many people, 10 minutes is already useful. 15 to 20 minutes is wonderful. 30 minutes can be even more supportive if it fits naturally into your day. The point is not perfection. The point is consistency. And yes, this can help after ordinary meals too, not just huge dinners. That may be one of the most overlooked parts of all. People often think a post-meal walk only matters after a heavy restaurant meal or a holiday feast. But your body responds to every meal. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, even a substantial snack. Every time nutrients enter the bloodstream, your body begins organizing. Walking simply makes that process easier. Of course, there are gentle cautions. If someone has severe heart disease, balance problems, uncontrolled diabetes, or takes medication that can lower blood sugar significantly, it is wise to speak with a doctor about the safest routine. If a meal was extremely large and walking feels uncomfortable, slower movement may be better than pushing through. If someone has reflux, abdominal pain, or dizziness, listening to the body matters more than following any rule. The goal is support, not force. And that brings us to what science has discovered. Researchers once focused mainly on total exercise time across the day. And total exercise still matters. But newer studies in real people have shown that timing matters too. Short walks after meals can lower post-meal glucose responses more effectively than the same amount of walking done at other times for some people. Scientists also noticed improvements in insulin handling and better glucose control in older adults, in sedentary people, and in those with elevated diabetes risk. That does not mean walking after meals solves everything. It means the body is more responsive than many people realize. The body notices timing. The body notices rhythm. The body notices when the legs begin moving just as fuel is arriving. And once you understand that, post-meal walking stops feeling like random healthy advice. It becomes something much more personal. You begin to see it as cooperation, a conversation, a moment when your body says, "If you move now, I know exactly what to do with this." That is why this habit feels so underestimated. It is not a supplement. It is not a complicated diet rule. It is not a punishing routine. It is one of the simplest ways to help your body do what it already wants to do well. Handle fuel smoothly. Protect the bloodstream. Use muscle wisely. Store less urgently. Stay steadier. And perhaps most importantly, help you feel more like yourself after eating. So, the next time a meal ends and the room gets soft and your body feels tempted to go completely still, remember that inside you, an invisible process is just beginning. Your muscles are available. Your circulation is ready. Your body is listening for what comes next. A short walk may look small from the outside. Inside you, it changes the next 30 minutes completely. And if you repeat that quiet habit again and again, your body often responds with something remarkable. More stability, more cooperation, and less of the sharp rise and crash that once felt normal. What surprised you most about this process? Have you ever noticed your body feeling different after a walk compared with sitting right after a meal? If you enjoy discovering the quiet science happening inside your body, subscribe for more. In the next video, we'll explore something even more fascinating happening inside your body while you sleep.